Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Mode. This being a show where I introduce you to a series that you may or may not be familiar with. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the AMC original series, Preacher. Like always, this isn't a review, it's just me talking about a series that I really like that I recommend you check out for yourself. Preacher is an action comedy supernatural series that follows a preacher named Jesse, who isn't your run-of-the-mill preacher. I won't get into it, but let's just say Jesse has quite the past. But one thing that makes Jesse very unique is the fact is that he is possessed by this entity. This entity that possesses him gives him this unique ability called the Word of God, which basically makes it so that people have to do whatever he says. What he initially thinks is a gift from God, he quickly finds out that that is not the case, that his whole situation with this thing inside of him is something else entirely. So to avoid spoilers, let's just say some stuff happened and Jesse goes on a road trip to find God. And no, not in a spiritual way find God, I mean literally find God, because he's actually gone missing apparently. Joined on his road trip with his ex-girlfriend at the time, Tulip, who is a badass all her own. It would be very unwise to get on her bad side. Much like Jesse, she has quite the past. In fact, a lot of her past is indirectly or directly connected to Jesse. And then you have their far from savory vampire pal, Cassidy. And yes, you heard me right. I did in fact say vampire. So earlier I brought up the whole like Jesse being possessed situation. Well, that ends up being a very big plot point in the series. You end up finding out this thing's name, what it is, and what makes it so special partway through season 1, which there are a lot of different people who want to get their hands on it for very different reasons. So as I also mentioned earlier, this is a supernatural show with the whole like Jesse being possessed situation, have a vampire as a friend. Well, other than that, the show has introduced angels and demons, though with the demon situation, I don't recall if they ever outright call them demons. It might just be like their respective situation kind of infers that they're demons, but I don't know if they were ever outright called demons. Maybe. There's also an antagonist that pops up later on who kind of falls into that like supernatural category, but at the same time being a category all on his own. Other than this, I'm not sure how much more supernatural stuff we'll get further in the show. This is what's kind of been introduced so far. Though there have been supernatural elements plot-wise that have kind of been introduced, but obviously I won't get into that too much because, like I said, they're plot elements. So this series has a very interesting cast of characters, ranging from our 3 main protagonists to its very eccentric cast of recurring as well as side characters. Take someone like Eugene, for example, not just his background, but also like the direction his story takes, and it making you kind of going like, wait, where is this going? Well, to be fair, that could apply to the entire show in general, because the world of Preacher is really weird, but in a good way. It always leaves you excited to see where the story's going to take you next. This series has got some great action. Shit can hit the fan quite often in this series, leading to things getting very hectic. It also has a very nice comedy side to it. There are very interesting, I guess is the word I'll use, conversations and situations that the characters find themselves in. There are moments that have you being like, wait, are they really having this discussion right now? Or wait, do they really find themselves in this situation? There are quite a few moments where this show's dark humor really shines. Preacher is based on a Vertigo comic book series of the same name. There are some differences that have been introduced in the show so far, including characters being different from their comic book counterparts. But one big difference mainly involves the first season. The first season gives you a lot of background on Jesse as well as his hometown, something that doesn't happen a lot in the comic book. In fact, where the first season ends is actually where the story in the comic book actually starts. It just kind of dropped you in the middle of the whole situation that season 1's finale kind of ends you off with. Season 3 of Preacher premieres on June 24th. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.